This is the story of how a roguelike about evolution ended up in a museum just around the corner from me. Now, a lot of the time when indie devs discuss marketing, the conversation immediately goes to conventional online things like Steam pages and posting on whatever platform how many times a week. But this story is about a slightly different kind of marketing. I haven't been living in Margate long. It's a great place to be. It's a really good place for like traditional art and music. But what there's not a lot of is games related stuff. So when I heard about last Friday's event, I thought I really need to go along to that. I need to support anything locally that is about indie games. The Crab Museum is a wonderful place. It's a museum about crabs and also ecology and biodiversity and all those good things. It presents information in a way that's really playful and fun, and I just absolutely love it. But I went along not knowing anything about the game. We had an evening of looking at the game and having it demoed to us by the publishers, and then talks from the directors of the museum where they talked about evolution and crabs and carcination. Everything is Crab is a top-down action roguelike which plays a little bit like an Enter the Gungeon or a Hammerwatch type game, but you're playing as a little blob, and every time you've kind of collected enough resources, you get to evolve. The thing that I really liked about it is that the evolutions change how your creature looks, but you also get new behaviors. So for example, if you spec into mammal and you get toe beans or something like that, you can make your animal more cute, and that makes other animals not attack them, and then you can go a sort of like pacifist getting other creatures to fight for you route. So it has one of the things that I really like to see in roguelikes and bullet heavens, where as you kind of advance your character within a run, it feels genuinely different to pilot, and I was just really pleasantly surprised with what the game was.
So our emotional support crab is here to make sure we all have a good time.
And I was also pleased to learn that the museum directors share my disdain for Pokemon, although maybe for slightly different reasons.
Evolution is the process by which all of those sort of random mutations of genes get whittled down. And they don't get whittled down by the animal themselves. This is the important thing, and this is where Pokemon slips up so badly. The Pokemon has to die. You can't evolve in your own lifetime. They just suddenly spontaneously turn into a Snorlax or whatever, and it's like, no, come on.
Live tromboning from the emotional support crab.
Okay, I wouldn't personally pick that. Look, we all have our own opinions, emotional support crab.
There was a little bit of audience participation where I tried to be my usual helpful self.
Okay, can I have a hand up, please? Describe your vision of a crab to me.
It looks beautiful.
Can you describe its shape?
No.
Well, tough crowd.
After the event, I caught up with some of the folks at the publisher to talk about how a collaboration like this happens and what's the benefit of doing something like this.
Hey, I'm Chris Groves. I'm the social and community lead over at Secret Mode, a UK-based video games publisher who published the game Everything is Crab.
How long did it take for this to go from someone's kind of like silly thought to like an actionable plan? Because it felt like one of those things that someone maybe suggested as a joke and then went, oh no, hang on, that's actually a good idea.
You're not too far off. As like a publishing and a marketing team, we're coming up with ideas of how we want to market the game. What stuff do we want to do? That's some stuff will be very kind of traditional and tick box stuff, which is really important. And then there'll be other things that we'll throw into the hat that could be a bit different, a bit out there, and we take ideas from everybody on the team. And an early suggestion, probably around like summer last year, was, hey, do you guys know about the Crab Museum? They're really cool. That could be a really interesting fit based on the game and based on how they operate.
Whoop if you've heard of carcinization. Great.
Towards the end of 2025, start of this year, we took a bit of a deeper look into, okay, if we were to do this, what would it look like? And then we began to kind of put the wheels in motion about, okay, this is actually doable, and what do we think we'll get out of it, and how do we think it will benefit everybody?
It feels like you're not necessarily going for like massive numbers, right? It's not like tens of thousands of eyeballs or whatever. So how do you see like the payoff for something like this?
A key part of the organization of the event was making sure we could have a solid kind of live stream aspect to it as well that gave us some really strong content. The first port of call is making sure we're having fun and doing something that we all enjoy, because that resonates with whatever audience that we're able to reach. Like, I'm very confident that if folks see clips and moments or attended the event and they're unaware of the game or they're discovering it for the first time, they're going to engage with the stuff that we put out and the stuff that we did more because we're genuinely having a good time and we think it's a really fun thing to do. We wouldn't have done it if, we weren't engaged and passionate about doing something with the Crab Museum, and vice versa. That was the key thing for us, was knowing that we're going to have a lot of fun doing this, and we think that whatever we create off the back of this will resonate because of that.
Now, marketing is a little bit of a sore point for very small teams, and particularly solo developers often just don't like doing it. And an event like this isn't going to magically give you 10,000 wish lists, but I think it's helpful to know about because it gives you a sense of the broader set of things which could be considered marketing. And what I saw at the Crab Museum was an example of what we call affinity marketing, which is when you try and market the thing you're making to a specific group that shares a set of interests that perhaps aren't just limited to I like indie games or I like roguelikes, and maybe are a little bit more thematic or a little bit more tonal. You might be making a game about riding a horse, so you market it to people that like riding horses, or you might be making a game with a particular sense of humor, so you market it in spaces where that sense of humor is shared, rather than just acting like your audience is gamers, because actually most adults are gamers in some shape or form. It just comes down to, what taste profile makes them choose the games that they choose. This is an example of affinity marketing, and the obvious level of it is that it's a game about crabs and it's the Crab Museum. But the other thing about the Crab Museum is it's quite kind of young and hip and unusual, and I think that means the sort of people that would frequent the Crab Museum are more likely to be the people that pick up small indie titles, right?
Yeah, that was an aspect of making sure that there's a shared kind of passion and interest in what we want to do here, with not just the organisers over at the Crab Museum and the great team there, but also the audience that we would expect to be aware of the event and those channels and the museum in general. A key reason that we felt like it would be a good idea to collaborate, and the reason that the Crab Museum was on our radar, wasn't just because we're making a game about crabs or carcinization. The output and social channels for the Crab Museum have a reputation of being fantastic, basically. Like, they're quirky, they've kind of got a very kind of Gen Z approach, and I mean that in the nicest possible way, to social content creation. It's off the cuff and it's fun and relatable, but also at the same time it doesn't lose sight of important matters, and it's very educational. When you take a look at Everything is Crab, it's kind of in a similar vein of, like, on the face of it, it's silly, it's quirky, but the more that you play it, the more you understand, there's a lot of depth and education here in the game, and a lot of passion and thought that's gone into the world of evolution and carcinization and nature. And every time you choose a different evolution, you can flip the card that's the evolution, and there's a description on the back, and it will be facts about animals, it'll be facts about evolution, facts about crabs. So that connection for us of fun, silly, quirky, off the cuff, but also educational and passionate about the subject matter, that was exactly what we have with Everything is Crab in terms of how we feel about the game, but also how we were aiming to market it. It felt like a great fit, and after one conversation with the great volunteers over there who run stuff at the Crab Museum, we were like, yep, this is going to fit.
So most of the people who watch this channel will be making games on their own or in very small teams. What would your advice be for trying to do similar things like this if someone has little to no budget? Is it kind of easier if you've got a game that's about being a crab and not about shooting zombies or being a spaceman?
I guess so, but I think in any game you can find an angle or an aspect of the game that is something that you can then take wider and collaborate on that resonates with the wider audience. The two key things for me is that if you're looking to do potential kind of partnerships along the lines of what we've done with Everything's Crab and the Crab Museum, I think if there's a shared passion on both sides to support each other, that's the main thing. As long as you've got that support on both sides to create something really cool that's beneficial for both parties, and that's the key thing, is that it being beneficial on both sides, I think it's got a chance to succeed. So a key thing for us is that we knew that the Crab Museum is free to enter and it's run almost entirely by volunteers. So we knew that, look, we don't want to just turn up and make use of this space and kind of utilize it for our own gain. Like, let's make sure that we're supporting the Crab Museum too. So we can do that through our channels with social support and shout outs. We created some sticker sheets that we sent over to the museum, and everybody got one on the night, but there's loads now still at the museum that they can choose to sell if they want to, or whatever they want to do with them. Whoever you want to kind of support and collaborate with, you need to give something back and help them as well as them helping you. It's harder than ever now to set yourself apart in the games industry with content and marketing. There are so many games, there is so much content, there's so many different channels. It's so difficult to stand out. So that's why it can be really useful to come up with activities that kind of present your game to the audience of a partner that you might not have been able to reach just through like kind of traditional marketing means, but also do something that's entertaining and that's going to stand out. We're now in a position with Everything is Crab where we can put out a load of content that has an emotional support crab playing a trombone. I doubt that many games will be able to do that on their channels. That's cool. It's different. Being able to kind of take even the smallest morsel of something in your game that's different and it can stand out and you want to collaborate with something on and do something fun with, there's a value to that.
Thank you for watching. If this is your first time checking out Indie Game Clinic, please like and subscribe. I do regular video essays on game design and creative direction and all of that kind of good stuff, and playing games sent in by you guys. There's a form over on indiegameclinic.com where you can submit games. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you're new, and maybe check out this video next. This one here. YouTube has decided that this is the one you should watch. So watch this. It's right here in this little rectangle. Watch it. Watch it. I'll give it a little tickle.